Amrita, tell us about how this acting ka keeda bit you.
So I wouldn't say that it bit me at any particular time, but I was just born a dramatist. Sometimes I would lock the door and be like, okay, now I'm going to perform for you. All of you sit in a line and I will dance, you know.
One dialogue from Aisha.
What? It's really bad, but my fans know the dialogues better than
By heart?
I do.
She's trying to bait you into reels. Be careful.
That's the way chal raha hai. She also knows that.
But it
know
won't
that,
be
right?
as good as my Aisha performance, yeah.
We'll say this is the audition.
This is not the audition. My audition was very good.
Too good, na? Too good, too good. You have to sing, Amrita.
No, what is this? She's going to make it. She'll be like, now dance also.
The next one.
Now I'm going home,
Practice.
huh?
Hello everyone and welcome to the Rediff podcast. Our guest today is a daughter of a successful banker. Yet she chose to make her career in films. 16 years ago, she made her debut in a film called Aisha, and till today, people remember her role from that film. On screen, she's worked with some of the top actors in the industry. But off screen, she's the hero of her own story. Our guest today is none other than Amrita Puri. Amrita, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So Amrita, tell me, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I've had a throat infection for like 2 weeks and I finally got my voice back, so I'm feeling good.
Amrita, we have all seen you and loved you in the film called, Aisha. But obviously, as a daughter of, a superstar in the banking industry, how difficult or how challenging was it for you to, choose an unconventional career path?
It was challenging. Leaving aside that my dad is a very successful banker who set up HDFC Bank. So leaving that aside, it was challenging because in my family, no one is in the entertainment business. There are no actors. It's very much focused on education and your career and professionals, as you would say, working professionals. So, and mostly people are in, finance, lawyers. So it was challenging to convince my parents to let me do this. It took a while.
Okay, what was the kind of initial reactions you had when you said you want to choose a career in films?
I think it was complete shock. My dad didn't take me seriously. I think that they thought, okay, it's a chaska, and she's young. She doesn't know better. We better guide her. So there was that where they thought, and they thought it'll pass because there's so many things that you're like, oh, I want to learn the guitar. And then a year later, I don't know where the guitar is, So they thought it was something like that. And my dad kept saying no. After I finished my BA in English literature, he said, no, you have to do your post-graduation because in our family, we always get a graduate and then a postgraduate degree. So you can't stop and start working before you get your postgraduate. So then I did that. And then after I did that again, I said, I want to act. So he said, no, you do theatre on the side, and why don't you become a copywriter? Because I'd also done my postgraduate in mass communications media. So something related to what I had studied. And so I worked at O&M for a year, and while I was at O&M, I just was very unhappy because I was constantly thinking about when can I get off work and when can I get time to act, and I want to go for this audition and I can't go for it. And finally, I just had lots of discussions, and some of them were showdowns, because, as you said, it's a very prominent banking family that I come from. And my dad thought that this one is that the film business is very unpredictable, which it is. It's not structured. He prefers things which involve studying and then getting professionally qualified and then getting into a proper career. So there was a lot of backlash. And then finally my dad said, fine, he gave in because, I've said this in interviews before where I've said, I'll never be happy if you don't let me do this and I'll have to come back again in my next life to try and be an actor. So then I think he was just fed up of me and he said, sure, do it, but I'm not going to help you at all. And he thought, I'll struggle, I'll go from corner or pillar to post and then eventually give up. But I didn't. And 2 years later, I got Aisha.
So how did you audition for Aisha?
I was in the auditioning circuit when you don't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in the film business. And my dad had very clearly said, I'm not going to help you doing this. If you do this, you do it on your own merit. So I would go to Aramnagar, find out about auditions. You know how you go, knock on doors, you see casting calls, you get messages, stand in line, audition, all of that. And then this is serendipity. I got a Facebook message about the audition for Aisha. And they had been auditioning for that role for quite some time and not found the girl for it. So I responded to that Facebook message. It was as random as that. And it was literally in those days we didn't have laptops. So it was, literally on my PC I responded. Saw the message 2 days later and went to Anil Kapoor Productions for the audition.
And how was your first audition?
So I had been auditioning, right? So it wasn't my very first audition. I had been for 2 years going for audition after audition, not getting a big break, only doing ads. I was nervous because I didn't know what to expect really. And then when I saw the scene, I was like, ye kya hai yaar, gaon ki ladki, behenji, makeover. And I'm not like that at all, you know. So I didn't really want to do it, but I was so scared of the casting director, Amrita Puri, and she's my godmother. I got the break because of her. Dar ke mare, I did the audition.
Okay.
And then I thought, I won't get it. Then I was like, oh crap, I've got it. Now what? And that's how Aisha happened.
Okay. But the kind of love you got after Aisha, I'm sure, it continues even today.
It would have been the biggest mistake if I had not done that movie and at that time I didn't realize what an amazing opportunity that was. I did, right? It was my dream finally coming true after 2-3 years of just struggling and going for auditions. But I didn't think the film would become what it did, which is, even today, all these girls who were in school at that age or when Aisha released or in college, they have watched it 100 times, know all my dialogues, are in love with the character, the fashion. I just got a lot of love for that role and I'm very grateful to the Kapoors for giving me that role.
Yeah, but it was also a film that was ahead of its time and it's relevant. Some of the segments of the film are relevant even today. So that has also worked for the film.
Absolutely.
Right?
It was the first time that, they were like, oh, chick flick, It was really the first time in Indian cinema that you were seeing something like that.
But how fun was it shooting the film?
Honestly, it was quite stressful.
Okay.
Because it was my first time shooting. I've done ad films, but it's very different from being on a film set. So I was really anxious about, am I getting this right? Am I sounding like the character? Because I'm a South Bombay girl and there was a lot of stress about, Amrita, you better get the diction right. You better nail this character right. And I just felt a lot of pressure because if I didn't get that character right, then the whole film falls through, right? So it wasn't like this big party. I was on my toes, yeah.
Okay. And after that, you did a film called Kai Poche, which was your role in it especially was such a standout role. And obviously that film produced some of the biggest stars we see today. There was Rajkumar Rao, there was Sushant Singh Rajput, Amit Sar. and who all of them, they became bigger stars after that. But we didn't really see much of you after that Kaipoche.
Right.
What happened?
Kismat. What else do you say? It's Kismat.
Did you feel that you didn't kind of get the roles that you deserve to, or do you think you were not there when these roles were written, or do you think that the roles were not written for women during those times?
I think it's a mix of things. One is, a big thing with this business is luck, and being at the right place at the right time. A lot of it, it's not just that if you're talented and you perform, kaam mil jayega. You know that. I think everybody knows that. This business has a lot of other factors. There is luck, how well your film did, what's going on in the industry at that time. And when I did Aisha, there was no OTT.
Correct.
Even when I did Kaipoche. So it was very much still that traditional hero-heroine. We're looking for a lead and the heroine has to look a certain way, And there weren't so many opportunities as there are now. It's only later, I think some 10 years after Aisha, that OTT happened. So there was a mix of things. But yes, after Kaipoche, even I was surprised because the film was such a big hit.
Yeah. And your role was you had such a beautiful role.
I love that role. I absolutely love it. I watch the scenes even today and I enjoy it.
So beautifully shot, that entire sequence. Are you still in touch with with the actors, your co-actors?
So not Rajkumar so much. I did a OTT show with Amit Saad.
Right.
No.
That was
Jeet Ki Zid. In 2020. So obviously we worked together again after that. Raj and I also worked together in a movie, Judgmental Hai Kya.
Correct.
So I've worked with both of them after that. I think another thing, going back to your previous question, is when the film, when people think of the film, they think of the three boys.
Correct.
Because it was very much a story centered around them, their friendship, their world, and how their friendship impacts, how they play a role in each other's lives going forward. So when people think of it, they think of the three boys. So I think that was also the deal,
Amrita, tell me, as a newcomer in the industry, how easy or difficult is it to get your next film?
Very hard. I didn't know when I did Aisha. I wish someone had told me that it's your second film that's harder. Because I got Aisha and I performed and everyone loved me. And I was like, I'm ready.
I have arrived.
Now scripts aayenge. No scripts, nothing came. And I was so confused. And it was also very, very disappointing because when you're so young and you have all these expectations, and I was like, wow, my dream has come true. I'm in a film. And everybody loved me. I was sitting at home for a year doing absolutely nothing.
And how did your parents or your family support you during that time?
It really helps to have family in Mumbai, to ground you. And also then you're not worried about paying your rent and everything else. It's much harder when you come from, you don't live in Mumbai and your family doesn't live in Mumbai. So really, I would say I survived because of my family.
Mm-hmm. But were they happy about your success when you launched?
They were thrilled. They were so proud. My dad, who had been my biggest obstacle, was so proud. I remember he threw a party and he gave a toast and then they had a special preview for their friends, and they've really been my biggest cheerleaders.
But growing up, Amrita, what kind of learnings from your dad has really helped you, survive through these good and bad phases?
I would say it's not so much the career because we've picked such different paths, but it's been more about life and how to approach life and the ups and downs that come with life. And my dad always says, whenever I would say that it's so hard or I'm really struggling, he said, but who said it would be easy? Nothing is easy, and welcome to the real world. They've kept me very grounded and real. Because, my parents come from a very simple middle class backgrounds, and that's really the upbringing that I've also had. And Dad always would tell me that whatever you do it with integrity, do it with your full heart and conviction, but remember that the rest is up to God. So there's always that thing where he says, Kismat. So there's a lot of, not so much in terms of career, because he does say, even today, that, look, I don't know so much about your business. So at the end of the day, it's you. But it's about how you take life and your values. And I have a very strong set of values that come from my parents. But one piece of advice that he did give me is, I had, when I was deciding, should I do Aisha or not? And I was a young girl at that time who wanted to, look glamorous on screen. And I had that idea of what being a heroine is like, where the wind will both blow through my hair and I'll be like dancing in a sari. So I was like, ye kya hai? Mujhe bhenji ka role nahi karna. And then I remember I showed my dad was like, let me read the script. So he's also one lovely thing about my parents is that they're very involved and invested in both our lives, my brother and my life. So he read it and he was like, if you don't do this film, it'll be the biggest mistake ever. Because your lines and your character are in, as Anil Kapoor would say, just jhakas.
Which is what people remember even today. The dialogues.
Absolutely.
Right? But how did you prepare yourself to be an actor? What kind of, grooming or styling you had to do to, become an actor?
I would say when I was on the set of Aisha, I didn't know anything, when it came to how to do your makeup, how to dress. And I would look at Sonam and be like, wow, and so I learned on the job, honestly.
But what was some of the scariest or the most challenging thing you had to encounter as a newcomer?
It's not like there's one single moment that's very scary or anything like that. It's the whole journey because it's so uncertain. And because I had no one to guide me. There was nobody who I knew from the business to guide me. So it was all extremely uncertain. It was all new territory. It's like being put in some new country, but you don't have any guidebook or travel guide or anything. You have to figure it out on your own. So that automatically comes with its set of challenges, and that uncertainty makes you anxious, right? Because it's like, acha, abhi to film mil gaya, abhi kya? Now what? Okay, now I don't know how I'm going to get my next film. Now what? So it was a lot of learning on the job, and that's what I would say was hard. And then the uncertainty is very hard because I did Aisha, then I was sitting at home for a year, so it's like, shit. Am I allowed to say shit? So I was like, oh shit, now what? And there was also that my dad was like,
So you have did you have that kind of expectations, like your dad is super successful, the pressure to succeed, because at some point you've taken the risk, you've gone against what is a conventional path. Did you have that kind of...
Yes. Not because my dad is super successful and, I want to live up. There's never been that kind of pressure in my head. Maybe subconsciously, but what was, I was like, maybe to fat rahi thi because I have fought with my father.
Correct.
I have gone and studied all this other, done my post-graduation, left my job as a copywriter, and as you said, panga leke I've said, no, main dikha dungi, and I got that first film, and then I was like, oh no, now he was right. Because now what? And half of this, as you said, 16 years ago, I'm pretty sure I spent only 8 years actually acting, and 8 years must have been spent waiting.
Amrita, there was this time when you were, you're struggling to get the kind of projects that you want. Was there like a low phase in your career where you felt stressful about, the industry, of getting into the industry as a newcomer? And how did you deal with that phase?
There's been several phases. It's not just been one low point. It's been a lot of up and down, And it's something that I've really struggled with because you have to understand as an actor, it's very hard not to take things personally because you are your product, So when you go for an audition or when you're not getting work, you tend to question yourself that, am I not good enough? Why am I not being able to crack it? What is the reason? When you're rejected in an audition, then the rejection is personal some way, even though it's not really, because there's so many other things involved. They could be looking for a particular look. You have to sit well or match well with your co-actor, things like that. So it's hard, and it takes a lot of mental strength to get through that, to get through those lows. And it's not that it ends and then it's like, oh, there was no looking back. There hasn't been that kind of a moment in my life where it's been like, oh, this film came and it changed my life, and then there was no struggling after that. It's been constant. And that's also why I decided to do something else, because I didn't want to just spend all my time waiting for a good role to come my way or waiting for a project, because you're just spending too much time doing nothing. And then I sat back and I was just thinking, I feel like I'm wasting my life and I don't want to waste that time. Okay, this industry is very unpredictable. Things are not in your hand. It depends on so many other things. So why don't I do something else with my time as well? So I'm not completely dependent on just acting, whether it is to be busy or whether it is financially, whatever it is. And that's why I've always looked at, okay, what else can I do? I had a clothing brand for about 4 or 5 years, then COVID happened, so I shut it. And then after COVID, again, there's also been in the past 2 years a big slump in the business. So it's not just about me. The whole business suffered, really, especially with movies not working and things changing so much, the viewing culture changing, and now it's all OTT. People barely go to cinemas, things aren't running. What do we do? So it's affected everybody. It is just an unpredictable business, not just for me, but for everyone. You could be a top star and you're as good as your last hit or flop. So I then decided to go and do my postgraduate, do my master's in global mental health, because psychology is always something that had interested me. And I've always actually wanted to go and get my postgraduate degree and go abroad and study, because I hadn't ever really lived outside of Mumbai. And that was the best decision that I made. It really was. I thank myself for it constantly. It was such an amazing experience going back to university, living in Edinburgh, being back in that learning. I love learning. It just opened up my world hugely in terms of perspectives, knowledge, giving me a whole different skill set, analytical skills, meeting so many different people from around the world, living completely alone in Scotland. And then coming back, I've just come back with a completely different worldview and take on things. And I'm able to handle life much better. And that also means the acting business, But most importantly, I'm busy and engaged, and I'm feeling fulfilled, whether it's through acting or through my mental health endeavors.
So Amrita, at any point, did you personally have to, visit a mental health coach? And how was the experience for you?
Not a mental health coach, but a therapist. I still go for therapy. I love it. I swear by it. It was life-changing for me. I actually discovered therapy fairly late in life. And it was when I was going for marriage counseling and my marriage wasn't working out that I went to a therapist to address that. And in the process, I discovered that, leaving aside the marriage, there was so much that I wanted to work on myself. I found out that I had anxiety, and that made so much sense because of the way sometimes I reacted to things, or sometimes I would find certain things very unnerving and stressful, and I wouldn't know why. And therapy gave me that the knowledge and the know-how to know, okay, this is what it is. There's nothing wrong with me. I have anxiety. If I deal with things in a certain way, I can work around it. And that was life-changing for me.
Was this anxiety because of the profession that you chose, or was it more about you as a person?
So when I say anxiety, I had anxiety even before. But of course, the profession that I chose, uncertainty doesn't help with people who have anxiety. That uncertainty does not help because it makes you even more anxious. It makes people who don't have anxiety, it makes them anxious because you don't know. Are you going to get work? When will you get work? Will that work be any good? After you finish that project, again, it's back to now what? So it doesn't help that I picked the profession that I picked. It's something that over the years, it's both nature and nurture.
Did it also help you set boundaries, or after meeting a therapist, were you able to set boundaries in a more clearer way?
100%. I was able to go through my divorce because of my therapy and counseling and be able to take that decision it's a big decision to walk out of a marriage, and especially when you're the daughter of someone who's very high profile and you're in Mumbai society. People love to talk. People love knowing what's going on. So there was a lot of pressure that I felt. And the therapy really gave me the strength to walk out of that marriage. And I've come out today as a much stronger person, very independent, someone who knows my mind and who knows myself. And I would say because of everything that I've learned, it's changed the way I deal with everything in my life.
But at some point, we all feel that, mental health is like a luxury. Not everyone can afford. We all talk about, we should have mental health awareness. But do you also feel that, not everyone can afford?
It's absolutely a luxury, and that's the sad part. And when I studied global mental health and society, people ask, what is it? Because honestly, I don't blame them. It's like the title doesn't give you any indication of what it is. So I'm not a therapist. I keep telling people this, or a counselor. What it does is, how people study public health, but they're not doctors, but they're looking at how can we create better systems wherein we can provide better medical support to people, wherever and however it may be, whether it's working through NGOs or the government. So similarly with global mental health, you're addressing mental health, but you're not addressing it on an individual basis, and you're not providing a one-on-one service. What you're looking at is how do we make it more accessible, mental health? How do we make it more affordable? Because you're completely right. It's a huge luxury in India. If you look at the ratio of trained psychiatrists to India, the treatment gap that they say is huge. The numbers are just shocking. And when you go to rural areas, there's no awareness. Even if there is awareness, where do they go? So my master's largely was focused on how do you make it more accessible and affordable, and how do you make it contextually adaptable, because what works in the West is not going to work here. What works in Mumbai is not going to work in your rural areas. So that's what the focus is on. And you're absolutely right. It is a luxury, and I feel very privileged that I'm able to afford it. And because it was life-changing for me, I really wanted to do something where it's accessible and it is not a luxury.
Like, if you were to give an example, how would you use the skills that you have learned to change something that is around you or in the industry that you work with?
So see, in the industry that I work with, I'm not applying what I've, because I'm an actor, and then it involves a whole different set of things. I'm looking at how do you, whether it's working with, say, I work with certain NGOs, as to how do you raise awareness. Like I'm part of, there's this campaign called 10K to Zero, which is about raising awareness of adolescent and youth suicide and trying to bring it down to zero, because the numbers are very, very high. So that's one thing that I'm doing. So I do various things in a freelance capacity, whether it's working to how do you sensitize the police to mental health issues and dealing with trauma cases. How do you integrate mental health within, let's say, childcare institutions? So, where you have kids who are rehomed or trafficked and you have them staying in government institutions, they really need mental health support. And actually, there's supposed to be one therapist and counselor in each childcare center, but there isn't. So they are just there with no mental health support. So how do we how do we come up with interventions to change that and provide mental health support to those who are, especially to marginalized communities.
Would you say that your journey into understanding mental health is a personal one, or was it like you always wanted to, do something that is like giving back to society?
I've always wanted to do something. I didn't know in what capacity, but I've always wanted to do something that's altruistic and give back, because I feel at the end of the day, then it's a personal thought process where I feel like, okay, at the end of my life, I want to feel like I gave back, like I made a difference, like I changed something for the better, whatever it is, even if it's just one person's life. And then when I got into my own personal journey of mental health, I would say then I got more interested in psychology academically as well. And I started studying it, and I do enjoy learning. So it's been a mix of a bunch of things that led to where I am at right now.
Right. Amrita, today a lot of actors are, sensitizing people about, mental health in different ways. Like Deepika Padukone, for example, took a stand against long working hours. Anushka Sharma is another actor who's endorsing mental health and wellness. What do you feel that, if an actor says, I'm not going to work beyond 8 hours, it would limit their opportunities? Because it's a creative profession at the end of the day, and you can't really put a certain number of hours into any project.
See, the thing is that creativity is not linked to long hours. It's not that if you sit on set for 14 or 16 hours, creativity mil jayega, So that's a misnomer, I would say. That it's not that you need to just be giving all your time and your entire life to be successful in a creative business. And at the end of the day, we're human beings. We may be in a creative field, but we also need to sleep and eat and rest and have some personal time. So I think that that's the wrong way to view it, that, it's a creative field, so you can't have fixed hours. I mean, even in corporates, and I've worked with a corporate for years, an external advisor on employee well-being. There's lots of burnout. They're also working sometimes 18 hours a day, and are unable to look after themselves and their health. I think it's a very myopic view to look at things like, and everyone's got on this thing of Deepika and 8 hours. I think it's a myopic way to look at it. I think that we're human beings at the end of the day, whether you're looking at a corporate or whether you're looking at someone in a creative field, you need to feel rested. You need some time on your own. It automatically affects, this is proven scientifically, affects your productivity, no matter which space you're in. So also, if you are rested, you are going to deliver better on the set the next day. The same if you're in a corporate job. And I'm not saying that there are times where I've done 16-hour shifts or all-nighters, and I've not got paid for it, which is problematic.
Right?
Where if you go beyond those 12 hours and you're not paid. So I think Deepika's brought up a very important issue. I think that she's being overly scrutinized. So the thing with this whole Deepika thing is, I promise you, if it was a man,
it would have been viewed differently.
No, it wouldn't be in the papers. I know of a male actor who is extremely successful commercially, who has had that 8-hour, whatever it is in their contract for years. Nobody talks about it. It is our patriarchal system that has blown this out of proportion. And what is wrong if someone who is a new mother is asking for a little help, to be like, I want to be able to act. I want to be part of the career force. I don't want to sit at home. Help the person a bit, with males that, like I said, that male star. I don't think that he was going home and looking after the child and looking after the house and all of that. It is just completely a patriarchal system, and the media has blown it out of proportion, and everyone has blown it out of proportion completely. And I don't think that she's being unfair, and I don't think that you have to be a slave in whatever industry, whether it's corporate slave or in the film business, to be successful. As you can see, that makes me really...
Yeah, but it's not just Deepika Padukone. The other conversation we had was also about Narayan Murthy saying that, you need to work 16 hours,
See, I didn't bring up the name, but yeah, you said it, she said it. Right.
So there are people who are, saying, if you're not working, what do you go home to do? Are you going to stare at your wife? Stuff like that, coming from, top corporate people. So how do you view that? This at one side, we are saying that, you need to bring in balance and, we are talking productivity. And here we are having, the big wigs saying you have to work 18 hours, you have to work 24 hours. So how will India deal with that?
It's not just India, it's around the world, again. And I feel that is I don't agree with that mindset. You want to work 18 hours, that makes you happy. You don't want to go home and sit with your spouse. You do it, but don't enforce that on everybody. That is not right, People should have the freedom of choice. And that's what I am against, this is not slave labor, right? And especially when you're lower down in the pyramid, whether it's a new actor, whether it's someone who is a new employee and you've just joined, you can't say much. So don't do that. That's not fair. And don't be fair is what I say. And so I don't agree with that mindset. And I also don't think that you need to sit in the office or wherever for 18 hours to accomplish. The problem is that it's a misnomer to link success with long hours. Yes, work hard, but work smart. And that's something that my dad has lived by. He doesn't just say it, he's lived by it. And I've seen it at home where he would come home for lunch every day and then go back to office. So you're talking about a good hour and a half gone, okay? And then he would still come home by 5:30 every day on the dot. The man wouldn't even wear a watch. And he always said that if you are consistently staying late in office and have to work long hours, there's something wrong. You should be able to get your work done. Again, the fault is not just on the individual. Again, it's your systems and surroundings and bosses who say, oh, you should work 18 hours a day. Otherwise, how will you be successful? No, that's not true.
So if we are looking, to create like a happy, stress-free workplace, what are some of the non-negotiables that, young professionals should be looking for?
So I think that stress-free is a misnomer. The moment that you're at work, there will be certain days that are stressful. When you have to deliver, when the buck stops at you. Say, even as an actor, there are certain days that are very stressful because, say, you're losing light, but you have to get that shot before the sun sets, and it's a very difficult shot, and you need to get that emotion. There's a lot of stress for you to deliver, because if you don't deliver, then there's a whole, or sometimes it's just not possible. You don't have that location. It is stressful. So it's how you learn to deal with that stress and cope with it. And that's in the individual's control. Okay, understanding that there will be days that are stressful. But then the balance is a systemic issue, where you need people at work also to understand that that can't be a constant. You can't constantly, I'm just using acting as an example because that's primarily what I do professionally, is that you can't constantly keep the actor under stress, or the DOP. Why even actors? The DOP or the production. They will crack because we are human beings, and that's the same in a corporate space. Or you look at any business or any workspace, there will be days that are stress, but you need that balance. And that's what we need to strive to work towards. And I would say that it's not just going to come from the individual. The problem is that people have this misnomer that, oh, if you go for therapy, then it'll sort out your stress. No, if you have a toxic boss, that going for individual therapy is not going to sort out that issue, So it's also your environment. You can't just solely place the responsibility on the individual to be stress-free. If you're working in an environment that is constantly stressful and with toxic individuals, no matter what you do personally, you're going to be stressed. So it's one, how the individual works towards it, and it's two, also the system. It's very much a systemic approach, and you can't completely put the responsibility on the individual and say, oh, which is what my article that you read was about, is that I call it the chamomile tea approach. You can't expect the person to be working 18 hours and deliver in stressful conditions every day and say, here, have chamomile tea and do deep breathing and yoga and you'll be okay. No, that's a very superficial way to look at it.
Right.
So we need to go deeper and not just address the symptoms, but the causes, the root causes. And that would mean taking the focus of constantly making a profit and money, and also looking at people, giving both their due importance.
What are the changes you would make in the workplace?
So it also is contextual. What works, say, on a film set is not going to work in your corporate structure, and vice versa. And that's what, again, my master's degree was about, is that you adapt the approach according to the context, according to the surroundings, according to the needs. But I think that when you start, it's really important not to take advantage of people, especially lower down where you don't have that authority, because it's a pyramid, right? That's one thing. So whether it's on a film set, it's not just about Deepika asking for 8 hours. It's also about there's so many other people on a set. There's who are daily wage earners. So you have your spot dada, you have your lighting, you have your camera, people who come like 2 hours earlier than the actor does. They also need to go home and eat and sleep and rest. So it's not just about, this one's saying 8 hours, or, this head honcho is saying you need to work 18 hours. You need to look at the context, and you need to be fair, and you need to understand that at the end of the day, you're working with human beings, and you need to bring in that human element. And I feel for that, it's important to have communication, and also not have this, how you're given this badge of honor for, they glorify sort of overwork and burnout and being stressed. There's a saying that stress is the most normalized form of mental illness. I think it was Richard Carlson, the psychologist, and I keep using that quote because it's true. The problem is that in our day and age, stress, no matter which business you're in, has become normalized, where people don't even realize that I don't have to be stressed for output. I don't have to be working 18 hours and not be able to spend time with my family to be successful. So that mindset needs to change, and this badge of honor that you get for overwork and burnout and not sleeping, that needs to be cut out of the equation. It's not cool.
Right. Since you mentioned toxic is a word that everyone has been using lately. But what are some of the signs, according to you, that is toxic?
I mean, if you don't have a boss, and again, this applies to any profession, who is not understanding of your circumstances, who is just constantly putting pressure on you, asking you for unreasonable deliveries, and not realizing that perhaps you're just new in the business and you don't have the luxury to say no, right? Because it's hard in this world with demand and supply. There, if you're not willing to do it, there's someone else who will take your place, even in the film business, because the demand is far less than the supply chain, right? So you have to not take advantage of that. Be a little sensitive to the individual that you're working with, and not have this very hierarchical approach, which is
have you faced that
constantly, yes boss, yes boss, yes boss. And if someone speaks up, then it's considered, how did they speak up? This person is difficult, when you draw boundaries. And yeah, I've experienced that as well, especially when you're young, right? And you're inexperienced. When you're young and inexperienced, you really face that, because one is you're not confident at all not at all, but you're not confident of where you stand, what can you say, what's appropriate, what's not, or you'll be taken as this person is not hardworking or not sincere. Yeah, isko mat lo next role mein, she's difficult to work with. So that.
What advice or message would you like to give out to young actors who are, struggling, trying to make a mark in the industry?
It's so hard. It's so hard, and my heart goes out to all artists. It's not just actors, It's your screenwriters, it's your directors, it's writers, painters, any musicians, anyone who's in that creative field. It is very, very demanding, and it takes a lot from you. Far more, actually, than I say that you gain, because there's just so much of give constantly. So firstly, I would say don't do it unless you are really passionate about it. There's just nothing else that I enjoy doing as much. I'm constantly, it's at the back of my head, I've gone to Edinburgh, I've done this master's degree, I've come back. I had the choice to continue working in the UK, but I chose to come back because I wanted to do both. So if you don't have that kira in you, and I say it really is a kira, because I can't think of just not being an actor. I just can't. The idea of not acting makes me very, very sad. So unless you don't have that, don't do it. Because it is a very, very, very hard and demanding profession. And it takes a lot from you, not just effort-wise, but also mentally and emotionally, to go through those lows that I've spoken about. Because it's not like a job where you're an accountant or a banker, where it's like you performed. You gave these numbers, right? You deliver. Now your promotion, and upward and upward and upward. No, it's not like that. You can give a fantastic performance and be talented, but still not be commercially successful,
Amrita, what is your take on modern relationships? We see a lot of youngsters, with labels like breadcrumbing, pocketing, and stuff that, we never really grew up with. But we also see that it's a new generation that is also kind of opening up and, not afraid to express themselves, which we were hesitant, even though we wanted to do, we would be like, "Nay, you can't do it." So what is your take on?
Go for it. Do not conform to society. People have made these constructs and these rules. Who said? Where were we given this book by God? And I actually don't want to get into God. Please cancel that.
Amrita, you rightly mentioned about this stigma around divorce. It's a topic that we all always keep bringing up in our conversations. What message would you like to give out to women out there who are struggling with that phase, who are, probably not getting the support from their family or from the workplace, and they're, struggling it out, having children, custody battles and everything. So how do you really, go through that?
I would say it's very hard because it's an emotional battle. So if you're going through that, my heart goes out to you. But I was really lucky that I had my parents supporting me. It makes it much harder when you don't. And also when you're financially, you're looking at, because a lot of women want to walk out of their marriage, but then that comes with the problem of being So I would say firstly, the first thing is just be financially independent so that no other personal decision of yours is linked to, but how will I live? So the first thing is financial independence, really, so that you have the ability to live life on your terms, because money is also a way of power and controlling people.
Absolutely.
So I would say that that's very important. And secondly, I would say forget about what people will say. Just forget about it, because they're not there holding your hand. Your parents or your friends are not there living with you and dealing with the unhappiness or disappointment. It can be really, really lonely being in an unhappy marriage, because who do you talk to about it? So I would say forget about what people say. It's the most freeing thing in the world. And as long as you are financially stable, go do what you want to do. This world is very fickle. They forget about things like this. I know it's hard, especially being in the patriarchal system that we are, but it's the best thing. I'm telling you, I absolutely, Kanis Surkha, she's a comedian.
Stand-up comedian.
I love all her posts so much because she keeps saying that it was the best thing ever and I recommend it to other people because she was like, now it's like, let her do. And really, I have done whatever I wanted and it's been so amazing and empowering.
Right. Amrita, I think you have made such amazing insights into life, into career, about relationships, about mental health. You've touched beautifully about, all these topics that, some of the topics obviously uncomfortable. People are not, used to hearing in their daily lives. You've been so amazing.
Thank you.
Amrita. And I hope people, take these, things away from this thing. And these takeaways really, change people's lives. At least some of the things that you said makes a difference in someone's life.
I really hope so. And at the end of the day, you just have one life. So whether it's work, whether it's marriage, whether it's any sort of relationship, really, life is too short to be unhappy. And I know that I'm lucky enough to say that. And there's certain privileges that I come with. I'm very aware of that. But life really is too short to be unhappy.
Amrita, really thank you for this interesting, insightful session. And we really hope and wish you all the best. We hope to see more of your work.
You will. I just can't talk
which
about
you're
it.
not talking about.
I can't talk about it, but you will be.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited about.
We really hope to host you for your next project as well. And we wish Amrita all the very best. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
For such an amazing session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope I don't get in any trouble with anything.